Welcome back, everyone, to Third Street Reactions. I'm Zach.
Shane.
We are back with Dragon Ball Daima, Season 1, Episode 13. Now, do you remember what happened in Episode 12?
Yeah, we had Vegeta finally finish off his Tamagotchi. What's it called?
Tomagami.
Tomagami, yeah.
Yeah.
The main thing was in the original Dragon Ball GT is he skipped 3 and went to 4. And there was a reason for it. I don't know what it was. And we had a long talk. 3's not our favorite. I thought it was a cool moment for him. And for fans, like, oh, he can turn 3. I think he looks cooler than Goku.
It's a way to fill in some gaps.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of 3 because, for one, no eyebrows.
I mean, they look like an Neanderthal.
It's weird.
Yeah, they look like a monkey. I mean, they look like an ape.
Yeah, it makes their head look more pronounced.
Yeah.
Forehead, I should say.
Yeah, it brings them to their ape look a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, go check out the post talk. No, I thought it was just a really cool episode. And, you know, I don't think anyone loves Majin Du.
Or Ku.
Yeah, I like Ku more now. Ku was helping out. And he didn't get any credit. He helped with the math.
Well, Du couldn't beat him physically. I'm sorry, Ku couldn't beat the Tomagami physically.
Yeah.
Du had to do that.
Yeah.
But Ku had to get the chocolate for him and answer the math problem for him.
Yeah, he was like the ultimate cheerleader in a good way, I think. Not in a beta way.
Well, it's just they both have to, they're kind of part of two sides of the same coin.
What if they like fuse or something like that?
That'd be worth seeing.
Yeah. And then like, what if he's cool after that?
Dooku.
Yeah. Dooku.
Yeah.
Dooku. If they fuse... Is that called Dooku? We got patent that. Okay? Dooku, huh? Yeah. But, no, I mean, the girl, or her name is, Big Titties. Aaron Sue didn't, he could have demanded credit. He's like, oh, okay, whatever. You know?
I think she did not hear him.
She didn't hear. Which we heard clearly, and I was wondering if the Tomagami was like, oh, you can't do that.
But you'd imagine that if she were able to hear that the Tomagami would say, hey, he probably would have heard it too. Vegeta
also had to solve a problem.
It was a word problem.
Yeah, it was a word problem, and using, I think, logic a little more than...
Just kind of experience, logic and experience.
Yeah, he never saw one, and never saw...
Never saw a snake eat a cookie.
So, yeah, I mean, he ended up being the right answer. So we have 2, they have 1.
We also know that, was it Nava, whatever it is, the old Namekian?
Yeah.
That he powered up the Tomagami when it was fighting Vegeta.
Yeah, he turned it up like he was turning up a furnace.
Yeah.
Which you don't do.
He's like, well, they both love combat. Let's let them have some fun.
Yeah.
And he just enjoyed the show, and so obviously, which he's discussed in prior episodes, maybe in episode 11, we know that he has, I wouldn't say ulterior motives, but he's not really in line with what Gonzo, what the hell's his name? Goma? Yeah.
Gonzo.
Whatever he's wanting, so.
Yeah. I don't know what his motives are. I hope he's a good guy. He seems like he kind of is a good guy.
Yeah.
I also thought it was kind of cool how they had this, I know he created them, but they had this fealty to him. Like, they got on one knee saying that, sorry.
Sorry, I couldn't protect it.
Yeah. But that was cool. So, guys, before we jump in, if you're joining us for the first time, I don't know how, but we do put our reaction footage on our Patreon, but it's available for everyone. Just click on the link. You can watch it for free. And then after you watch it, just come back here to hear our post-talk discussion. Let's jump in. Guys, that was a reaction. This is our discussion. That was a fun-ass episode.
It was fun and engaging.
Fun and engaging, and like I smiled a lot.
Yeah, it was just so ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was just fun as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can get into like, well, if it's life and death, why don't you just turn Super Saiyan 3 like that? But I'm not going to do that. It's, you know what I mean? It's no way.
I mean, they got through it. The idea is this is a bewildering experience. You'd think, though, as, with our perspective, human perspective, if you had that ability to turn that power on.
I think the Saiyans just, they like the they always like a challenge.
Well, I understand that to a certain point, but then if you're, if Bulma and what's her name are going to get squished at any point.
Yeah.
Like, you're being distracted by this dog, and that whole time that big fucking kid could just have found it.
Yeah.
And squished it. So
yeah. I mean, it's just,
I understand it's meant to be engaging in action.
And obviously instant transmission. I think he could I mean, I always think well, he can use instant transmission here. Oh, he can use instant. I think that all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just
Well, it doesn't make for an engaging storytelling.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. So it is what it is.
And he uses it usually pretty cool times. Like you can sell is one of the coolest things ever.
One of the best times he's ever done it.
Yeah.
So Warp has been shut down.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Yep.
I thought he was gonna come down like the Hindenburg. I said it during the reaction. I mean, he's so sad.
He got all droopy, and then it showed lightning behind him, but he's just hanging out.
Yeah.
Goma ordered that to keep them from getting there with the other Dragon Balls to get the last one and to undo what's been brought upon them.
I was gonna say, is there any kind of trade in between all the? Imagine having a kingdom where you roll 3 different dimensions. And
Well, doesn't he steal a lot of his subjects' life force?
yeah, I know, but like in terms
I wonder
of
if he can.
I'm more about the
transfer that
economy.
back. That's what I'm saying. Like, if that's a major thing,
Yeah.
how do you get that back now?
I guess he's hedging his. I think he's just thinking the problem's gonna.
It's like the Federal Reserve, where just a bunch of ones and zeros at the bank, and the actual currency's useless. And
Yeah, I don't know, but I think hopefully it's gonna. I'm thinking he hopes it's gonna get solved before that. He's got to worry about that.
well, obviously, Aaron Sue is going to try to find a way to get them through because she wants them,
Yeah,
her agent, to bring the Dragon Balls to her.
yeah, absolutely. What are you doing?
It's cherry, man.
I know, too. Okay, so have you thought about this? Like, if we're going by evolution here, like, what if there are examples of galaxies with, planets that are like way bigger than Jupiter, but they're able to support life and everything is way bigger?
I haven't thought
Like, why do we have to be exactly this size?
I haven't thought about it a lot, but we're exactly this size. And if you're going to argue it from a point of evolution, or you can argue it from a point of, creation, but whatever created us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can say it's a god, you can say it's another race of beings, and we're just like, Ridley Scott's movies.
Who created them?
Yeah, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
So if they were a product of evolution, and then we were a product of their evolution and their
tampering with natural evolution.
Yeah. So I don't fucking know, but
Well, obviously, when we had the tournament of power, we get all the mightiest warriors.
well, at one time, for instance, dinosaurs were on the Earth. Dinosaurs are very big.
Yeah. What if there's smart ass versions of that somewhere?
On Rick and Morty is what that reminds me of.
Well, that's like a movie, right?
It was based off of We're Back, right?
Yeah, which I haven't seen, but it's like an.
Well, that's a movie where a guy goes back with the time machine, picks the dinosaurs up, alters their brains so that they are smart and nice. He wants to bring them back to the world so that kids can enjoy these nice, friendly dinosaurs.
Yeah. Okay.
His brother, the evil Professor Screw-Eye, wants to turn them into like horrid sideshow attractions.
Yeah.
And make them vicious again and
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I mean, but the idea of
crows eat him, and I don't know how that worked, but
yeah. So I mean, I don't think we necessarily have to be this big, to be intelligent, or this small to be intelligent. I should say.
Obviously there's things smaller than us that we are.
Like in Rick and Morty, are there little civilizations that are really small that are smart? You know what I mean? Could that exist right now on this planet?
I don't know what the parameters are for that to occur.
The parameters of life.
I don't know enough about quantum physics and like that size, because then when you're talking about something that size, gravity affects it differently, so time affects it differently. Mm-hmm. So there's just this whole other equation.
Yeah, I mean, one thing
being that small, or that big. They see dinosaurs. I don't know how long they determined that most of those things could live. I don't if they really even know. But I was getting at earlier, though, they were afforded their size because of the environment of the Earth at the time.
Yeah, the oxygen was a little bigger. A little more, a little higher oxygen in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about.
After the one extinction event occurred, supposedly, according to what we think we know.
The one where over 90% of everything died.
Yeah, and only the small things that didn't require as much lived, whereas they could not survive in the environment after that. So it's very interesting.
It is. I'm not disappointed, but the scarier planet, the scariest in all 3 dimensions, is something where things are just bigger. I was hoping for something a little different, than just something bigger.
Yeah, I mean, but we've already seen the giants, so we don't need to see.
Yeah, just give me bigger giants.
The Gigoths.
So hopefully there's something else besides, I don't know. They have to be real big.
That's kind of.
I'm sure I'm gonna like it.
That's one of those things where it's just. It was enjoyable to see. It was enjoyable for an episode, but if they do it again, but just now we're going to make just bigger giants.
Well, I wonder if we'll just never see it either.
I don't think we will.
No.
I think it's just one of those things where we saw it, and well, you think that was bad.
Yeah.
Just know there's worse, and they had a hard enough time with what they found.
Yeah. Also, Maja or Majan Light.
Was it Modulite?
Yeah. Some kind of fuel source.
Like he says, like their version of an element 115.
Yeah, it's so element 15 is element 115. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Yeah, Bob Lazar, the whistleblower that came public about Area 51 years before it was ever acknowledged by the government. Obama is the first person I think who actually acknowledged it existed, which is weird because when I was like in 8th grade, I mean, everyone was talking about it. Yeah. But the government literally didn't acknowledge it. So I think Obama acknowledged it for the very first time. Oh, it's just an Air Force base. Anyway, so he talked about, and this guy he's a genius. He could be a liar, but he's definitely a genius. He's not lying about that because he is smart.
Yeah.
And he had all these things that he talked about, like this machine that they scanned your hands, had these metal things, and it shot light through like an X-ray, and it measured like the bones in your fingers and the distance between them. It's how they used to. It was like a name badge. Like that's how they used to use it to get in, and everyone said that was a hoax. And like just last year, like that, it was shown like, oh, this existed and they used in the 80s. Like there's a lot of stuff he said is absolutely true, and it's absolutely true that the government also tried to screw him.
Oh yeah,
and that's true. So I mean, that doesn't mean for sure he was telling the truth about everything, but I feel like I believe him, and I know part of me wants to believe him. But he talked about. He was working on these alien spacecrafts, and I know Zach knows this, but I'm explaining to you guys. Yeah, and they were trying to reverse engineer it. He said they had several crafts, and he was aware that other governments in the world had crafts too, and everyone had a pretty good idea on how they worked. We couldn't reverse engineer the technology simply because they use a fuel source that we don't have called element 115. That is,
we tried to reproduce it, right, and we could not get it to remain viable in our atmosphere.
Yeah. So I think in Sweden, in some kind of collider, they created what would be element 115, and it decayed in like, I don't know how they measure it, like in a second. You know what I mean? And he said that Bob Lazar said they need to find the correct amount of isotopes or something to stabilize it. I don't know. Zach and I were thinking about watching this. That's their version of it. That is what gives them. And I don't want to say their technology is way better than ours. That's just their version of like our fossil fuels, right? Mm-hmm. And element 115, I mean, an advanced civilization or a spacefaring race doesn't have to be an advanced civilization. Their element 115 could be our steam engine.
Yeah.
They just had it in an abundance in their atmosphere or on their planet. Mm-hmm. And early versions of their civilizations figured out.
Yeah, so they could be very, very much like the Saiyans. They could be very warlike.
Yeah, they could be like, and that's exactly what the Krogans were.
Yeah.
It was this warlike species. They got advanced technology, and they're still like really low on their social evolution. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So they're just out there just wreaking havoc.
Yeah.
You know?
And then like, they're
making mischief.
And well, I want you to play that game one day, but there is something in the galaxy that's like reducing their numbers.
I know. I already know about it.
Oh, okay.
We've had this discussion.
Oh, okay. And the idea is like, hey, like there are like humanitarian efforts, except they're not humans, to try to like, hey, let's get together and breed and everything else, try to help these guys out, and like, we don't care. And they're just trying to, and like they're trying to kill each other too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's because the one guy hates the other member of your party, right? Because he's a member of the race that inflicted them with that virus.
The genophage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my favorite trilogy. I'm a Nintendo guy through and through. But yeah, I thought this was a fun episode. To me, actually, the scariest part was the fucking dog fleas.
Yeah.
Imagine those things getting you.
Horrible.
Like freaking like that Mothman shit I used to watch down at your house. Mimic. Like these little bugs. And like the Starship Troopers. I hate the idea of getting killed by big bugs.
Yeah.
A lot worse.
The brain bug that stabs you in the head with the little straw thing and sucks our brains out.
That's one thing I remember, and I was like, I'm never watching this again. I'll probably watch it now, but still.
I rewatched it yesterday, and actually, I'm sitting there setting myself up for it. Okay, I'm probably not going to like this as much as I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's actually a good movie.
I heard it was good.
It's known to be meant to be satire.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, but to me, I think what I saw some comments somewhere is like people were saying that you like this movie for the wrong reasons because it's like a fascist world that humans are existing in.
Yeah.
And like taking war to the galaxy, and like Michael Ironside's character, he's in that class talking, and it's not the entirety of his message, but he has one comment there or quote where he's like extreme violence.
Yeah.
That is the number one like kind of law, and all our lives law derives from.
It's a true brutal thing that
It is,
Yeah.
because
Obviously, we don't live like that now, but there's a truth to it.
we still do. I mean, you're taxed, and if you don't pay your fucking taxes and you don't comply with any penalties that are put on you, you can be killed.
I don't know if you get killed for taxes.
I think that if they came to
Wesley
arrest
Snipes
you,
can get killed.
I don't think if you didn't comply, if they came to arrest you.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying the threat of violence is there. A government is a monopoly on violence. That's what it is, no matter where it is. It's a monopoly on violence.
You can't disagree.
It's just literally what it is. Now, some are a little more amenable to its population.
Like in Norway, you go to prison, it's like this amazing place. Like, you're allowed to leave. But it's
like North Korea, China, Russia, not so much.
Yeah, not so much. Now, obviously, North Korea is just real bad. Real bad.
I imagine that China probably ain't great either.
I know, but it just...
Well, you look at the North Koreans like these fucking primitives.
North Korea is like, I think it just...
Well, it's kept in a primitive state, so to speak, compared to developed countries.
Yeah, but in terms of like, there are journalists in China that criticize the party all the time. They, and... Well,
they probably sit back and think...
In North Korea, guys
China's probably sitting back, they're like, we gotta let a few of them live. You know what I mean?
Well, in North Korea, you have to get the exact same haircut as a supreme commander. Yeah. All the boys do. Mm-hmm. And the girls have to have a certain haircut. You have to have a picture on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what I mean? And it's insane.
I know. I agree. It's much more to the extreme.
Yeah.
Whereas in the party system in China, at least, I've never lived there, but it just reminds me of kind of what George Orwell described in 1984, where if you're part of the party, that's where the real control occurs.
Yeah.
And then there's a population of people that are just kept at a certain level.
Yeah.
Kind of the quote-unquote ruffians, but I'm not going to call the Chinese person a ruffian. But
no, yeah. So one thing that's certainly true about China is they collectively all care about, like, it's not like the party is trying to like get rich off everyone else. Like Xi Jinping wants China and everyone in China to be amazing and happy. Now, if you go against a party a lot in a bad way, they'll definitely kill you.
Yeah.
But like North Korea, like the royalty there, they don't give a shit about their people. Mm-hmm. They're just living life, and they got like 20,000 cars from Sweden and from Volvo, and they never paid it off, and Sweden sends them a bill every year. Do you know that?
Yeah, you told me about that. My thing though is that I think that obviously the party systems have evolved in such a way in these Soviet era countries or Soviet style countries, totalitarian countries, I should say.
Yeah.
Where, especially in China and Russia, where they learn where to apply the pressure.
Yeah, because
because you can't be stalling the whole fucking time.
No, you can't.
That did not work.
One of my very good friends lived in both.
Yeah.
And he loved it. He did say that as a white guy, like in some parts of China, they would call him a white devil, and it was pretty racist. Mm. And some parts not, right? Some parts like foreigners were like celebrities. Like, oh my God, you're from America? That's awesome. You know what I mean? In Russia, he had other problems, not racism, but he had other problems. But some parts were amazing. He's in his Asian countries, because he also lived in Japan for a year. Like, the thing about Asians they seem to always be very polite and respectful, and they're always on task, and they're always they're admirably collective in a cool way. But they don't like outsiders. It doesn't matter if you're white or black or Hispanic. They just don't like outsiders in general.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like if you're white. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he experienced that in Japan and in China.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, I've heard the same thing about Japan, at least.
Yeah, in Japan, I mean, they can, you could be really good friends with someone, but
you're never one of them.
You're never one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And essentially, I don't think that's terrible, really. You know what I mean?
I don't either. I mean,
it just
it's not the basis for their civilizations. It's not the basis of their cultures.
Well, I heard something.
As Americans, the idea was that
we're a melting pot, and that's our strength, and everything else. But
not so much just that though. It was about people that were out for self-dependence. You know what I mean? Making something of themselves with the new opportunities that were to be had. The idea that we were, it's just. I mean,
did I send you that thing on why Asians are more collectivist?
Yeah, with the rice.
Yeah. Like the way rice needs multiple people to grow, and wheat does not, or grain does not.
Yeah, because you said they introduced grain in certain areas and certain farms, and then they became much more independent.
Yes.
After they started raising grain versus rice, because it required
10 people.
Yeah, a unilateral response.
Yeah, it needs a ton of people working together, so their brain and their neural pathways might form in a way where they want. Fucking incorporate a bunch of people.
It's a possibility. I also would argue that a lot of these cultures that have lived under totalitarian rule for so long, I feel like they are probably drilled in a way culturally.
Yeah, but I think the average, I don't know about Japan, and the average Chinese citizen, I don't think feels that pressure, really. You know what I mean?
They don't have to now. I mean, it occurred for
Oh, you mean you're saying that like the neural
Mm-hmm.
you're saying the brain formed that way because of totalitarian pressure, other than
I think it's definitely, it could be part of it. I'm not saying it's the entirety of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the rice thing's a good argument because it's just, there's analytical data they use to
yeah,
look at that and compare to other farmers and shit. And
yeah.
so I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, I mean, men's brains evolve differently because of our needing to hunt or work together, even with people we don't like. Anyways, it's interesting. We like talking about this stuff. But anyways, this was a fun episode, and we had a fun conversation for it, and I just hope Sir Warp is okay.
I imagine someone will switch him back on eventually. It'd probably be Aaron Sue.
Yeah.
Because she has to get those Dragon Balls there.
All right, guys. See you next week.